Welcome, everyone. This is the July 2025 OpenNTF webinar. My name is Graham Akers. I'm the chair of OpenNTF and your host today. And hosting behind the scenes from OpenNTF is Jesse Gallagher and Roberto Bocadoro. Our presenter today is Bernd Gewehr. And Bernd, I see you've just joined, so welcome. Our topic today is enabling AI in every notes application. So just some quick welcome comments, and then we'll get right into the presentation. As always, a quick thank you to OpenNTF and Prominic for supporting OpenNTF and making things like this webinar possible. Another comment that we always make about OpenNTF is that everybody on this call is OpenNTF, right? It's not just the board. It's everybody in the community, and we all learn from each other by sharing what we know or even asking questions, which very likely is something that somebody else maybe wants to know and hasn't asked yet. But I wanted to highlight today the community projects that we have going on at the moment, which are opportunities for folks from the community to join in and participate in what we do. We've had for a good long time plans to revise our website, and it's one of those side of the desk type projects that Jesse is leading, and his work with the Jakarta EE project that he contributed to OpenNTF. So if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about how that works and the inner workings of the project to rebuild the website, please let us know, and we'll get you connected up and see where there's an opportunity to help contribute. The other thing that we've mentioned just recently is the new OpenNTF.net notes server, Domino server, that is available through your notes client exclusively. For more information on that, you can check out our YouTube page where we've got the announcement. There's also a blog post about it. But one of the key first initiatives of that effort is a database that's available to the community of notes.ini settings. And this is a long history of notes.ini settings, some of which may or may not work anymore. And so what we want to do is organize, or what we have done is organized a project to allow folks from the community to jump in, check the odd setting here or there, and find on the list of ones that haven't been verified, those settings that you're aware of that work, or worked up to a particular version but don't work anymore, or what version they were introduced, and so on. So we're looking, because there's well over 6,000 notes.ini settings. We're looking for folks from the community to join in and help verify those things. Again, ping us on Discord, and we'll get you connected up to be able to participate in that. And even doing one will help. Quickly, upcoming events. Next month, we're going to do our kind of typical lazy summer August developer grab bag that Jesse is going to lead. And they were getting into some fun conversations about different topics yesterday. So that's one to put onto your calendar. In September, we have earmarked a presentation on a project that was done in Europe to do deeper integration between Domino connections in the same time. That one's still to be verified, but it's on the calendar, so that one's we expect to be coming up in September. And our next open mic with the HCL developers is going to be scheduled for September as well. The conversation at this point anyway is that the topic should be same time, but we'll verify that the closer we get. And then, of course, in October, there's a user group meeting in the Nordics, in Copenhagen and Stockholm, and you can get more information at letsconnect.world. This is how you find us on Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord community yet, please do so. It's the place to ask your questions, interact with folks from the community and from HCL, and pretty much that's the way to find us. So I encourage you to get connected up there if you haven't already. And when we get around to asking questions on this presentation, we'll encourage you to use the questions panel in the GoTo interface. Yes, this is going to be recorded. Yes, it's going to be available on YouTube. And the one other thing that we try and focus on is that the questions are specific to the presentation. and are obviously not the kind of thing that are future looking and the things that you should be talking to HCL about. This is a community presentation. Bernd is actually a customer, not a business partner, not a representative of HCL, although he is an HCL ambassador.
Adding AI to every Notes application, doesn't that sound promising? I will not repeat what Voessing is and what I am. So just two sentences. Voessing is a civil engineering company and I'm head of IT the last 28 years there. So let's keep that short. But the title is promising. So what's behind that? We started our journey with thoughts like, shouldn't we add more features to the Notes sidebar? And as you may know, there were times where the sidebar was a good place to work in. There were same time widgets that you could just have every web page there in a sidebar widget. There were connections widget. It is also an option to help people with adding things to the sidebar again. And if HCL ever comes with a new Notes Next client, I'm sure they will offer us new sidebar capabilities. So why stop here? Why not invest into it, although Notes Next is not yet here? So that's why we thought about adding things to the Notes sidebars again. And the last OpenNTF webinar was just about that, how to add things to the Notes sidebar, right? So we today want to dig a bit deeper into a use case of why things may be good within the Notes sidebar. And important thing is we found two options. All that has been said, and there is a GitHub repository that we just published again with updates. So the context awareness feature is now updated in the GitHub repository that we already offered also for Engage, DNOG, and also proclaimed it in the last OpenNTF webinar. So there is a very great developer in our team who does GitHub repositories, and I heard that they're as good as just a few. When I can repeat what Thomas Hampel said, it's easy to follow, we hope, so that you can build your own sidebar widgets. That's the intention, right? So we added context awareness of the sidebar widget for the Eclipse RCP plugin so that whatever your app is, it can see what the user has just open for a document, or it can see which documents are selected in a view. So the context awareness feature is now published so that everybody can use it within our GitHub sidebar integration repository. And I really engage you to have a look at it if you have developers or are a developer, so that you can start for yourself trying to add cool things to the Notes sidebar. I think it is a good idea to do so. So with that said, it should be possible for you to achieve this setup. So there is a Notes client, there is the Notes sidebar, and there is your app, whatever it is, a web app, you name it. It must be an app that allows to be embedded in an iframe. Many of the apps are that we use, and most of the apps that we build can be taught to be run in an iframe if they refuse to do today, but it's easy to add these missing things to an app when it refuses to run in an iframe. So if you are in control of your app, you will make it run in an iframe. And if you have many of those other apps, they often run in iframes. Sometimes authentication does not accept an iframe, so you have to do that in a pop-up, but also that works. So I'm pretty sure your app may be just in here when you start the journey by using our GitHub repo. And so you have an app of yours seeing currently opened documents or marked documents in a view, and also the attachments that are aligned with those documents. And that is a good start for many things. And we started to think about, now that we have that capability, what would be the best way to use it? And so we have to speak about what we call AI to notes. And for that, we built Vössing AI. And with doing so, we asked ourselves questions like, what is a good AI assistant? What does it have to do? What does it have to know? And we found three very important things. The first thing is that the assistant should be at least as smart as a junior expert in your company. If it doesn't know anything about your company, your business, the industry you're working in, it is not considered as an expert, and so people will not ask it. If it's just about write a poem for the next Christmas party, I think this is not the way. This is not what we are looking for. So domain knowledge, it should be at least a junior expert in your specific domain. We found that the idea, what Microsoft currently does, is place Copilot wherever you are. And that is a good plan. It's just that Copilot is too dumb to do anything real of interest. At least that's my observation. But to be available in your work context is the right approach. Have AI at your side. Whatever you do is the plan and is a good plan to make you able to use an AI feature just where you are in the context you are working in. And if possible, without having to explain your context to the AI, just seeing the AI window, typing your question in, but the AI then should be able to see what you see and to read what you read and probably to act. And that is the third thing, the ability to act. Imagine an AI is embedded into an app of yours, and it is a senior expert level AI that can answer any question. And then you ask, how should I handle this in this application? And it says, please click here, then click there, then enter this, and then click there. What do you think? Wouldn't you think, hey man, don't tell me, just do it, right? So the ability to act is a very important feature that is something for the future, at least for us. But I think it's very important to not tell humans where to press buttons, but to press buttons, right? So I don't want to read what the email answer to a specific email could sound like. I want it to be written as an email response to me to read it and click send, but not to enter the text on my side. So deep domain knowledge available in your work context and the ability to act. That are the important three things we considered to be needed for a good AI assistant. And so we started our journey with building one. So this is Vössing AI. Vössing AI is a ChatGPT clone style web experience that we have completely from ground up built with React. It looks like a ChatGPT. It behaves just like ChatGPT in many ways, but we have complete control about what it does. And another beautiful thing is today we are using the OpenAI stuff. So we have an OpenAI assistant service just as the ground feature for inference and LLM stuff. And since we heard that Domino IQ is coming next for Domino, and it is able to run a smart LLM depending on what money you want to put in your server. But if you would invest in a strong server, you could run good LLMs right on Domino at home, so to say. So the ability to just switch our Vössing AI UI to a different inference service that has an LLM at hand that can answer questions, that's also why we started to build our own Vössing AI UI. So to have choice, so to be able to just tweak this thing however we like, to embed it wherever we need. And so this is Vössing AI, and it is capable of logging you in using an Entra ID or IDC flow that you would not even recognize. So when your Edge browser already has authenticated you today, it will just launch without asking for any authentication. So that we always know who the current user is from an Entra ID perspective. So Vössing AI allows threaded conversation for every user without a personal license. So how can that be? How much does it cost to offer Copilot to every person in your company? I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks a month. And how much does it cost to offer Vössing AI to every person in the company? And the response is zero. There is zero cost involved with user licensing because it is a UI that we control that is just using API requests to the OpenAI stuff in the backend, and we pay per token. So if Vössing AI is used intensively, we pay more. If not, we pay less. If nobody uses it, we pay nothing. And the equation in my head is if people are using it heavily, and we hope they do it for working purposes, then this is good. So I'm glad to pay for the tokens. They let themselves help with AI. That's good, right? But we don't have to make a contract. We don't have to pay upfront before they use it. We don't have to pay every month, although they did not use it. So this approach, writing our own UI for an AI service, instead of just booking an AI service with one of the major public cloud vendors, has immense advantages from the cost perspective, from the customization perspective, from the integration perspective, and that's why we did it. So in addition to just having a chat interface that can answer your prompts with a threaded memory, we also use the OpenAI feature of using a vector store for retrieval augmented generation, because we wanted, as we just said, to have an AI that is at least a junior domain expert. And so RAG helps with that. With RAG, the retrieval augmented generation, you are just feeding content from your enterprise file system or from your corporate wikis or from PDFs that you got or from company guideline documents. You're just feeding those documents like easily into a vector store at OpenAI. And it does all the hard stuff, all the chunking, all the indexing, all everything. And this is easy, but it's not perfect. Maybe we come to that later, but it's a better idea to take a more controllable RAG service instead of what OpenAI offers by themselves. But RAG is important. Otherwise, this thing would be just like GPT-4 or 4.1. So nothing of a domain expert, nothing of a company deep knower, right? And what now comes in beta already in trials and presentations is MCP, a second way to access corporate data and public services. This is Model Context Protocol. That is a standard that was built by Anthropic. And this MC protocol allows you to connect all MCP compliant servers or services to the AI that you like the most. So OpenAI offers to combine MCP servers as a configuration piece into what we use in Vössing AI next. And this allows you to, for example, have a weather MCP. So if you ask ChatGPT what is the current weather, it may give good answers and may not. But if you have an MCP server that has local weather information of the best possible quality, then while answering your question, the assistant would recognize that it's about weather, and there is an MCP server that serves weather information. And this is why MCP is called the USB-C of data plugins for AI. MCP runs with every AI if it is correctly configured in the AI service. And it's not like magic. It is a pretty standardized protocol, which is simple but very useful. It like explains an API in prosa, in text, so that the AI can understand what the endpoints are for and what to do with them. And so it just detects that there is a question in the prompt of the user that allows to be answered by leveraging this or that MCP server. And so it uses the endpoints in the MCP server to answer it. So like, hey, Vössing AI, did I already book my summer holidays in July? GPT-4 cannot know that, right? The web does not know that. So what's the point? The point is there is an MCP server for our absence application, and it's the assistant in the backend discovers that there is such a feature because the MCP server is recognized or registered, and it starts looking into the absence bookings on my behalf with my current user. So we did this domino JOT authentication coming from Entra ID. So Vössing AI is capable of tiering a JOT token that is my access token for Domino and ask things to Domino on my behalf in the MCP server. So that the answer would be no, there is no holiday booking in July. Would you like to do one? And then I could say, yes, 12th until 18th, please. And so it could book my absence. And MCP is really the next crazy step. MCP would allow that users have used your apps without ever seeing it, just using it by voice commands and never having clicked on it, right? So whatever you are allowed to do and the MCP server obeys your user permissions and your identity, then it's applicable to use every feature of your current corporate app set to be remote controlled via a chat service. Next thing, what we urgently needed was to be able to embed Vössing AI in iframes for considerable reason. We wanted to have it in sidebars, by the way, and to receive context data from the iframe containing app. So when Vössing AI loads inside of this iframe and is ready to load, it sends an like app ready message to the iframe, and the iframe responds with a context message. And so Vössing AI gets aware of where it was loaded. And whenever the surrounding iframe sends that context message again, Vössing AI can react on it and build UI elements or change anything You get it? It's an important thing to have this integration piece correctly. So that's why we built so many, or we spend so many effort into this RCP plugin with context awareness. For this was necessary, right? So the window here could be able to see the context of the user where he currently works in. And that's for sure for notes, but this is interesting also for other applications. Think about applications where you would search for laws or norms or guidelines, or you name it. And then the Vössing AI can not only just be there to say hello, and it says hello again, and right, but you could just ask a question right inside of where your context is. So you have opened that document, let's say in a web viewer for legal documents, and then you can just start typing, does this contract include this and that? Because the AI window is aware of what the context is. This is the second important pillar. So, okay, and the work in progress on our side is the action part. So to help the user to act within the current app so that Vössing AI sends activity packages back to the embedding iframe where they are then being worked out as clicks on buttons or entering text in fields or these things, so that you can prompt something that then just happens without you having to do it. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you may have recognized that I think deeply about how to involve AI into knowledge work. And if you did not yet, I encourage you to do so. So this was the Vössing AI story, and you see it's a piece of work, but if you take this and that away, you could achieve a similar thing within, let's say, days or a few weeks with one or two good developers. This is the work of two people over some months at this extent. But if you start, I'm sure you will achieve something similar or at least useful within a few weeks. Okay, so imagine it was your AI assistant that runs in the Notes Sidebar app, right? All this is possible. You just have to start. Good. So that was a lot of background information, but I think we're not yet done, because now imagine your context could look like this. This is the form that we built in, let's say, the end of the 90s or so. This is a purchase request, one of the first things that we created as Notes apps on our journey to have every of our business processes within Notes applications, apps that run your business, right? So this is a Notes form, and it has a lot of fields. And you can imagine field names were a bit of a problem at some point in time, so we used short names for the fields, like WKP1 and WKP15. Now, imagine the AI that we just spoke about would be aware of your context. And this would happen not by seeing my screen, but by reading the data that is stored in the document that I just look at. So it's not seeing the form, it's reading the data. And because of that, there is no table-like structure in the data. There is no labels in the data. There's just the field names, right? So how should it understand what it is looking at without having a piece of description? And that's why we have built the Vössing AI like config store as a Notes application, where we started to write context definition documents into. So like this document is a purchase request for internal approval before external procurement from the supplier. It lists up 15 item lines, and according to the company guidelines, which are named URIL at Voessing, must be approved by various levels depending on the total cost of the order. How should you know that without a bit of explanation? And then the 15 items are coded in abbreviated field names and numbered consecutively, like WKP1 and until WKP15 is the item name to be ordered. If you would speak German, it would make a bit of a sense. It is the Warenkorb Produkt, which is hard to translate, but it's like a product name. The quantity in the fields ans1 to ans15, which is Anzahl, the German word for amount. And then the price, it's pricing information and so on. And just only because this was described this way, the JSON that the Vössing AI gets from the context awareness feature is a bit understandable to it, and it can work with the data just like it would understand the form. But this is important. If you don't do this, the result is poor. If you do this, the result is great. So giving context information is really king in AI tasks. It is very important to do these things and to tweak these definitions again and again until you have reached a certain level where it does no longer give wrong or bad answers to simple questions, right? So context is king, and you have to explain things to the AI. So whenever Vössing AI is getting a context JSON from an open document like a purchase request, this text is sent in the backend as like a system prompt addition. So it gets the data and the description all together without you even seeing that. That's what the idea was. But you know, there are users of the purchase request app that do these things just every once in a while. So every quarter, one or two of those things. So they are not app experts altogether. They are not like deeply knowing what is happening here. So as an app owner, wouldn't it be interesting to be able to predefine some prompts so that they do not have to become app experts or be app owners, but still use very smart prompts for their needs? And this is why we added the second tailored thing, the tailored prompt. So this on the right side is Vössing AI in the notes sidebar, seeing an invoice document. Form is invoice, right? And because there is an action defined in this AI config store app that is called Rechnung prüfen, which means check invoice in English, there is a button. And because there is this prompt, check the invoice in terms of calculation, form and content in accordance with Company Guideline 07, Financial Accounting, Section 7.1, Processing Incoming Invoices. And this is a document that is available in the RAG store. I do not have to actually tell the AI how invoice checking works. It already has a document that describes it from the company guidelines. And whenever the finance team changes that, next day it is available as a RAG document. So this is the best prompt. Just refer to the company guideline chapter where the definition of what to do is being written down. So it will be always accurate. Edit before submit could be yes or no. So if the user clicks on Rechnung prüfen, it could just fire the prompt, or it could enter the prompt in the prompt window so that you can tweak it if you like. So this way, this time we said no. Do we need web search? We can switch this web search thing on or off by using predefined prompts. We said no. And now, magic, if there is an attachment that is called response PDF, then attach it also to the prompt. And the beauty of our invoice checking application in Domino is that it always creates a response PDF. But I could also use like rules that would just say .star.pdf, and it would have every PDF document that is available. So it's like rule based. So, and this prompt allows to be clicked by an apprentice, but still the invoice checking procedure would run the way it is defined with the document at hand that includes the invoice. So if you think about which expert level is now needed to check invoices, we just lowered the bar, didn't we? Much less is needed to do high qualified work. Now, you get a response like the invoice is correct or is not correct, and you should proceed with the invoice approval process or you should reject it. But for sure, you should not let this do somebody who doesn't understand the context. It's not that what I wanted to tell, but in general, we can do smart things, although the person who clicks the button does not yet have the chance to learn it. And I think this is an important extension of the invoice application that we have. We have described features that now appear as buttons that use AI to solve problems with data of the application without having changed anything in the application code. We just described it, and zoom, there is a button. And if you click on it, magic things happen, even with attachments. You could also click or check 10 invoices and ask, tell me about the products and the development of the cost of the product over time, or whatever you like. And it could evaluate 10 invoices with 10 response PDFs. 10 is a magic limit because OpenAI limits 10 attachments to a single prompt. So whenever we come over that, I don't care whether you pick Control A, so every invoice in the view could also be checked. But it's only 10 attachments per prompt at OpenAI. So if Thomas Hampel is still here, we need a better way to do these things within Domino IQ. But the important message is this. If you have an app and you have the AI sidebar and you prompted and describe the context that the AI is now able to see, then you create features for your app without changing the app's code. Okay. So, yeah, it's a few things that come together. And I try to wrap it up. So there is this domino rack synchronizer down right in the edge where my head is overlaying the text. Domino rack synchronizer, which crawls wiki from connections, some web pages, probably NSF data, and uploads it daily on a scheduled basis to the OpenAI vector store that does all the rest, so like chunking. So this is a Domino app that just uses APIs of OpenAI. In future, it could be a Domino app that is a rack store that does not have to put things out to another service, but just to store it because it is a vector store. I know HCL is working on this to make NSF being quick enough to work as a vector store and to add the missing features. So in theory, in the future, you would not even need an OpenAI vector store. You could use Domino IQ and a Domino NSF that is your vector store. Okay, then there is this OpenAI assistant named Vössing AI, which is a token-based billing API service. Then we built the OpenAI assistant API. We use the OpenAI assistant API, from the Vössing AI backend, which is a Node.js server, which is connected to PostgreSQL server for the thread memory. We have to remember which user is connected to which thread. In the assistant world of OpenAI, the threads are stored over at OpenAI, but we have to make the link of a thread ID with the user ID. So we offer the user his prompt threads again in the Vössing AI web app. And the web app then is the next thing that has this context receiver feature that can read the notes or receive the context from the embedding application, which must not be but can be notes, and which receives tailored contexts and tailored prompts. For example, from an NSF, which in our case is what we did. And so this is the architecture that allows you to have an AI service within nodes that is always there. But if you have an app that has these tailored context prompts configurations, it feels like the AI service in your sidebar is working with you in this app, offers you new buttons for the data of this app. And this is what this story, this webinar is all about. So this is how Vössing AI looks like as a sidebar experience. I would love to have a complete dark scheme on notes, but well, you know how it is. The left bar is not capable to be black. It might be also a bad idea if the font color is always black, but well. But this is how it looks like. So there is apps, and there is this AI window. And if you just have nothing open, there is nothing specific right there. You could just ask, like, did I book holidays for July this year already? Or write a poem for the next Christmas party? Or how the heck can I get a new laptop? Mine is broken. And it would answer this from company knowledge. So generic, right? But then you just open an app, like a purchase request app. And then you see this is now the context here. And these are the predefined prompts that add on what the app offers you as features without the app being modified, just configuration. So this is what we have achieved. Just to wrap this up, we are able to launch every modern web app in Eclipse RCP plugins. And if you start your journey, you would be too. Widget deployment can automatically be done through the widget catalog. So if you have a widget category that installs on every Node user in your company, and you place your AI or whatever your web app is in that category, every user just gets the thing without you having to deploy it manually. That's the old widget thing that still works well. We have built Voessing AI as a React web app, but other OpenUI apps, I don't know whether you know it, but there is OpenUI repositories that are ChatGPT clones as well, a good starting point for you probably to build your own service. So we have built Voessing AI from scratch, but you must not. And we gave Voessing AI company-specific information from wiki and databases for retrieval augmented generation, so like company guidelines, project metadata, and stuff. We're using OpenAI technology for that today, but if Domino evolves, it could well be that we also may use Domino IQ and Domino IQ RAG services for this feature. We allowed Vössing AI to receive context definition and prompt suggestions from the surrounding iframe of the widget plugin. And we offer AI in every Notes app, and app owners can write smart prompts for users to launch with a click of a button. So that's the theory. And now it wouldn't be fun if we wouldn't try it. So here we are. This is my Notes client, and this is Vössing AI running without context. And now I will show you how this all works. So here is an app that we bought from the Domino app catalog, like the App Store for Domino. Have a look at it. This is an app that allows you to analyze DMARC. So the security features that have been added to mail in the recent years, DMARC is one of those. And well, these are pass and fail informations from date and time and IP addresses and domains. And now I wonder if I can switch off my camera image. And I just switched it off now so that you can see the bottom right of my screen, which is important. So you see the word is report. Report is the form name of the selected document. And when I change the document highlighted in the view, Vössing AI gets a new context dataset sent, thinks for a second, and then says, okay, this is a report. If I click on this, that's how we did it, we have a context information, which is like form is report, org name is home.pl, begin and source. So a JSON representation of this form. This is the context information that changes whenever I change the current document. So this is now google.com as the org name. You see how it works? It's just the thing that we built for the RCP plugins. So, well, I could now start asking Vössing AI to do something with the context. So, what is the report saying? And since I hardly forced it to answer in German, I will add in English, please. I'm still polite. So what is the report saying? And it now starts just having this JSON information at hand. And I configured something wrong, so it's probably not good to play with it. I had a wrong model configured. So here we are. And hopefully this works now. So what is the report saying? The report is now sent with my prompt, and Vössing AI can evaluate the data and my prompt and can answer something about what this is saying. Based on the available metadata, there is no direct summary or specific content description from context. So it doesn't get it, right? It doesn't understand what that is. And that's where the configuration comes into play. This is a form, this is some cryptic data from a JSON, and we have to add context information. So I want to give a new tailored context. And this is for every database, and the form was named report, wasn't it? So I want to give additional instructions. The context is a DMARC report from our mail system. So let's start with that. I just described what the context is, and I save it. And we now should see that I can reload. It doesn't happen automatically. I can reload the context definitions. That's still a manual process. And now I could see that report should behave a bit better because the context is a DMARC report from our mail system is now part of the prompt. So I can again say, what does this report say? And just because there is now available context information, it can understand the data that it just received at least a bit different. I didn't tell it much, right? I just said it is a DMARC report. But now, oh, I forgot to say, please say it in English. But now it gives me a complete interpretation of what this DMARC report says because it is pretty aware of what DMARC is from itself, by itself, right? I just had to tell him this is a DMARC report because it couldn't see it from the data. And well, I would say this is a good analyzation of my thing. So this prompt here, that's a good prompt. I would love to have this prompt available for everybody. So I give a new tailored prompt. And I don't know what that database is named, so I give it to every form that is named report. And I set the label of the button that I have is analyze. Oh, let me write it in German. It's analysiere den Bericht, analyze the report, right? And make this prompt editable? No, it should just fire. It was a good result. Activate the web search? No, I could try yes later, but no. So, and now all the attachment included that I want to add with my prompt? No. So here's now what the prompt is, and we found that what does this report say is a good prompt, a good starting point, at least for a good prompt. I could also use data fields from my context information. So like $value would enter the field content of $value into my prompt. I can prompt with the data if I need. But for this, we just do it this way. So I have to reload the context information. And then I go back to DMARC Analyzer and I click on one, and you see this here, analyze the report. It just appears as a prompt. And now I just click it and the thing runs well. And I added a feature that is explaining what this cryptic report is about to everybody without having any knowledge about DMARC, this app, or whatever. So this is how you can add AI to every of your notes applications without changing the code of any of them.
The first question is, and I think I know the answer, but do you do any sort of tracking on the questions or the usage of the Voessing AI?
Yes, I control the credit card it is paid with. But yeah, no, jokes aside, well, sure, we have knowledge about what the Vössing AI usage is by like counting the threads and such stuff, right? When you use Vössing AI the first time, you have to agree that app developers of Vössing AI can technically read your conversations.
Well done.
We cannot avoid it, so you have to accept it or not use it. If you decide to accept it and trust us, okay. If you decide to not use this, okay. But there is no technical way today, or at least we didn't build one, that would not allow us to read the conversations, because this is how OpenAI handles that stuff. The OpenAI project owner for the platform is able to read the threads. And so there is control enough on that side. Maybe too much.
I'm curious about, because I'm having a very similar experience on one of my customer projects, just about the uh, evolution that you experienced with creating your context for all of the different notes applications. Like that is absolutely brilliant to see. But I'm curious just about the evolution of it from how you recognized that there wasn't enough context to how to figure out what makes sense to add and then do that integration. And you're welcome to
Well,
be
we
as
spoke about it and we found this solution. I can't tell you more.
okay. Okay.
It
We've
just
got a
came to
couple.
our mind. We have to add context to it. It doesn't understand the meaning of the JSON.
Yeah, that really is the bottom line. The challenge that I'm having with my customers, they're saying, well, it's AI. It just points it at our database and it'll know everything. And I'm like, no, that's not gonna that's
No,
not gonna
no.
get us there far
Same
enough.
as with APIs and MCP, you have to explain what the API endpoint does in text. So you have to give
Yes.
context to the endpoint. Then the AI is capable to understand what it does and use it. But without context, no way.
Yep. Agreed. Was your data ingestion to the vector database only using dense vectors? And how
Well, we do
complicated was
not
transforming the
care
data before?
about how the vector database handles stuff. We just upload content.
Okay.
So it does
Just
all the rest by itself. We don't have to do anything with the context. We just upload documents, which is PDFs or JSON.
oh wow.
And then
So you
everything else is done with OpenAI.
wonderful. Mark
We are
is the guy
switching
who asked
away
about.
from this because it's easy, but chunking is a dumb thing. Imagine you would have uploaded a JSON, and there is project reference information within that JSON. And let's say it is like 2K of characters, around 2K of characters per project. And so if you would now say chunk size is 2K, you can be sure that not a single project is within one single chunk.
Yes.
And so smart chunking is doing these things much better than dump chunking. And this is just one of the examples why we tend to move away from this easy approach that allowed us to do first steps well, but the deeper you get into it, the more you look at what's next. So how can we achieve even better results, right? And so we are
Yes.
moving away from the simple architecture of RAG with OpenAI towards an application that we host by ourselves, I think. And well, I cannot tell much of the details because I'm not into it, but we are moving into that direction. That's what I can tell.
That was
Thank
really,
you for
really
having me.
fascinating.
Thank you for being here.
Yep, we appreciate your time, Bernd, and we will see everybody again in August for our next webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.